Around the Block with Cody Diesbourg and Brigitte Pellerin.
Hi everyone, welcome to our podcast. For this week, we wanted to have a little discussion on the various kinds of martial arts. Hope you enjoy it. I often hear people ask me, what kind of martial arts is the best? What style of martial arts is the best? Muay Thai, Judo, Aikido, Karate. And if karate, some people will ask me because I say I do karate, what style of karate is the best? Now, I've only done really the one thing here in Ottawa with Duvers Martial Arts, which is mostly Shidoru Karate. I think it's awesome, but you've done several styles of karate, if I'm not mistaken. So what do you say to questions like this? 'Cause I'm sure you get asked that one a lot.
Yeah, we get it asked a lot, especially if they're not in our city where we're going to, like where they want to train with us. They want to know our opinion on what to train, right?
That's right.
And I started off with Shorin-ryu. And then when I moved to Edmonton, I was looking for something that was similar in style. And what I mean by that is some styles, they focus more on the breathing. Some styles focus more on the stances. Some focus more on push-pull, right? So there's different little pieces, little things that they each kind of cater to. And so I was looking for something that was similar in that retrospect. So I went to Shotokan Karate next, just because the katas are very close. The differences in the pinens and the heinens and the heiyans and the yans and like there's all these different ways of doing the same kata, but it's very, very small is the differences. And then when I went back to London, back to Shorin-ryu, and now to Chita-ryu, and it's all stuff that I know, and the basics are the basics. A block is a block, a punch is a punch, a kick is a kick, right?
And a push-up is a push-up.
A push-up is a push-up. So really, it's about what you want to focus on. You know, if it's the dynamic breathing and the strength building of say like Goju-ryu, that would be one piece. But that's a lot different than what we do with our longer stances and little faster, sharper movements. But definitely looking for stuff that you're interested in. It would be a bore to go into something that you did not enjoy. And then really it's who you train with. It's the mentality, it's the teachers. Those are really who makes the program what it is, right? And that's the most important thing, is that you like the people that you're training with, and you like the way they teach, and you like what they teach.
I tell adults, it depends who's asking and for whom it is, right? If it's for a kid, then any style is good. I mean, karate or judo or what have you, you really have to find something that you go to see the schools, go to see the classes, have the kid watch a class or part of it at least, and say, is this something you like? Then let's go see another one. And just go, because most schools will let you come in and just have a look at their classes so you can have a sense of what they do. So for kids, it's a bit easier because they have fewer restrictions when it comes to mobility or anything like that. For adults, I always say, especially if you're older and you're not really in shape, look for something where the joints won't be overly stressed right away. There are some styles where there's a lot of throwing, grappling, more wrestling styles sometimes. Maybe you don't want to start with that. Maybe you want to start with a style where you can actually gradually develop your strength so you can have those deeper stances eventually down the road, but you won't fail right away because you can't, for instance, put a lot of strain sideways on your knees, which I wouldn't recommend anyway. But I always tell them that. So that's one thing to look for as far as style or kinds of martial arts, is the ones where you look at it and you say, I think my body can take that with some practice, versus the ones where you say, yeah, forget it, my knee won't take that at all, or shoulders or elbows or whatever it is that is a problem with you. But for kids, I always say, be in the school, have a little visit with them, talk to them, see what kind of ambiance you see in the school. See if your child looks at the instructors and says, oh, wow, that guy's cool, that woman's cool, I want to be like them. And then look at them yourself and say, would you be happy if your child was trying to be like that person? I mean, obviously it's hard to tell. Sometimes you can't know the person really well, but first impressions do matter, and
There's
follow
usually a
your
pretty
gut.
good air about somebody that can handle themselves well on the floor,
That's
right?
right. Yeah. Look around. Are there a lot of kids in that school? Not just in class, but are there also a lot of kids out hanging out in the lobby, that kind of thing, waiting for their siblings to finish their class? Is this a place where families are welcome?
I guess that's a good point too, when you look at the clientele side of it. You know,
Oh, yeah.
who are they catering to?
That's right.
And do you fit into it, kind of thing?
Is this Cobra Kai? Or is this something where...
Sweep the leg.
Right? Or is this something where your child is going to learn good values, responsibility, leadership? I know I use these words because I know that's something that we push fairly hard, especially with the children, with the leadership program and character development. But do you see that in that school or something like that? Is that something that's important for you? Is there good discipline? And by good discipline, I mean, there's all kinds of levels. So look for something you like. Do you want instructors barking like the Marine and drill sergeant type, or not really? Or do you want someone more positive but that achieves results? Look for reviews online. That's a good place also to like when you shop for anything else. Ask friends, ask people who are there how they like the school. So that's how I say always to. And the style itself doesn't really matter as much as all that, I don't think, as far as recreational karate or just as a character development tool for your child. Who cares if it's Shiraru or a Shorin-ryu? They won't know the difference. Yeah. I don't know most of the differences anyway.
Well, when you're coming in green too, you're coming in fresh. Everything's new,
That's
right? So it's gonna still stimulate your mind, stimulate your body, and just as long as you have that motivational piece that goes with it, like a good instructor and good camaraderie and stuff, right? And you're saying, like, you know, you don't want to. There's this air about the instructor, and and you don't want to walk into the wrong situation for yourself. I actually had the experience once in Edmonton where I went to a couple dojos to seek some out, and I actually jumped into the class right away, and I felt comfortable, like, yep, I can handle this. I'll jump in with you guys. I get a good vibe from you guys. Then there was this one dojo, I don't even remember what it was called, but it was taught out of a gym, and I walked in, and the guy started talking, and I was like, something's a little off here. And so he's like, oh, do you want to take class? And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to watch this one. And my mom kind of looked at me, and she was like, give me this look. Like, you've jumped into every class so far. Why are you not doing this? I'm just like, let's just wait and see. And, there was a good, strong 30 minutes of basics, which is fine. I mean, that's nothing I'm not used to, right? I was brought up like that. And so everything was good until he yelled something in Japanese, and like everyone just took their shirts off and just lined up to each other and started bashing each other. And I just kind of looked at my mom, and I'm like, and and I'm sure there's reason for this, and I'm sure that there's good philosophies in schools like that, but definitely not in my world, right? Like, it's like I like to protect myself, and I don't like to bash myself so that I can rebuild muscle after it gets destroyed. But yeah, it was kind of a funny moment where I was like, wow, I kind of read that. I took the temperature of the room correctly on that one.
How old were you in this?
I would have been 15, 16.
So it
was like when I first moved to Edmonton.
Good little spidey sense of...
Yeah, my spidey sense was tingling on that one.
Who was telling me the story about this guy who showed up and says, well, before I decide if I join this school, I want to be able to take on you, the instructor, and see if I could beat you. And then people saying, yeah, okay, whatever. You know what? Because that's the other side of the equation, too. Because as a teacher at a school, sometimes you get to turn away students. Sometimes you have to turn away some people because you look at them, and I mean, the military does that too. Sometimes you have people that come in and say, I want to join the military because I want to go and hurt people. Yeah, maybe not, buddy, right? There are some people that need help, and this is not the kind of help that you personally
well, it's got to be a fit for both sides, right?
That's
like
right.
Just as much as we say you have to fit into, the equation with the vibes and everything, and you like what's going on, it has to be the same thing coming from a school owner. Otherwise, you're letting someone in that could hurt the rest of your students. I mean, they're family, and you're protecting your family. So when you get let in, it's not just to take your money. At least it shouldn't be. And it should be really considered letting them into the family.
Right. It's not just a gym. We don't just take people in who will pay money, use the equipment, and go. This is, you become, especially where we are anyway, it's very family oriented. And you become, I say we're like a big, loud family. And we are loud. But yeah, there is that atmosphere and that you very much feel like you're taken in, and there's this big old arm around you, and sure, come in, we'll let you in, but then there are some rules about what you can and cannot do around here, and that's important, as you say, for both sides to make sure that. So yeah, you shop for a place where you feel like you're a good fit for them, and that they're a good fit for you. And sometimes it takes a while. It took you, what, 6 months, you said, in Edmonton?
Yeah, it took me 6 months. I almost gave up too until somebody's like, you should check out this group over here and see how they do. And then I jumped in, and that was the one. And I mean, it was a group of guys who, their karate wasn't the greatest at that school, but they had other things to offer. They were teaching me Muay Thai, they were teaching me jiu-jitsu, and I was teaching the karate. Right. So it was something where it was a great trade-off. But being able to accept people like that too, and accept what they have to offer is a good way to apply. And I mean, I learned some of that stuff after already 10, 12, 11 years being in martial arts, right, in karate only. So it was a good little something to sink my teeth into, and apply some of the stuff that I learned through the Muay Thai and the Jiu-Jitsu into my karate.
Do you do more sweeps maybe since then, or did you do that before?
Maybe, at least I know more about them.
You're better at them.
There's a lot of stances that you start to go, it's a lot of stances on the ground in Jiu-Jitsu that if you sat them upright, they would be one of the karate stances, in our style. And so there's a lot of little intricacies that, basically somebody had a book and they read it and they didn't have a translation to it. They saw a bunch of pictures and went, okay, this is the way I perceive this, right?
Right.
And then it got passed around.
All martial arts are about using your body to defend yourself. And you only have so many body parts. You only have so many limbs, and so many ways they can go together and bend together. And there's so many ways you can strike with the palm of your hand. And so style to style, eventually, it all comes down to the same kind of basic idea. What about, because you've been in different styles, but what about somebody who used to do a particular style when they were a kid, and now they let it go when they were 12 or something, they lost interest, and now they're 25, 30 years old and want to start it again, and they're wondering, well, should I go back to whatever, judo, whatever I was doing earlier, or is there any way that I can just learn something else? And what are the challenges that person would face if they had to come to the kind of karate we do, say, coming from 12, 15 years ago, having done some other kind of martial arts?
Yeah, well, I guess it really depends on how much they did before and how much they liked it, and what the reasons were for leaving. I mean, there's a lot of variables there. But I can give you a couple examples from students that I've had, where I've had students who started off in their earlier days as a judo grappler, and then stopped for a while, had a family and decided that they were going to come back to it, 10 plus years later. And they thought to themselves that their body couldn't handle all the throws and stuff, and they wanted to take it down a notch, but still get the physical and the mental aspect of martial arts. So they came to karate, right? And, I've had other people who have been in a certain style and for many, many years, but then for the, every time they got to go for their black belt, they stopped. And it was about family and surroundings, right? And just made it so they couldn't continue. And then kind of came back to it and then had to stop again. And then now, some 15 years past that, they were here at Duvers and came in and as a brown belt still, and it was the longest journey to black belt that I've seen. However,
take a while. Wow.
The person still knew a lot of their technique. They'd still practice too, from time to time, because they loved it. So they loved karate and still do. And finally actually just tested for their black belt, and is ready to open up to the rest of what we have to offer. So it really is what your passion is and what interests you. But you can apply anything you've learned. Right. And I mean, you can take stuff from karate into other sports. I've taught other people in other sports how to fall,
Which is useful.
It's so useful. It's the number one thing I've learned in karate that saved my life.
You can use it just when you walk down the street in the winter and slip on ice.
Yep.
If you know how to break fall, you won't smash your head.
Or if you're as as stealthy as I am, or you know, as nimble as I am, you can do it going up or downstairs. You know.
You're the clumsiest black belt I think I've ever
Well,
seen.
I always tell people,
I
you know,
want
it's
people
like
to know this.
you put me in the dojo. What is it? It's a big open room,
Right.
and at the time that it was like we had
Padded?
mats and
Oh.
padded, so it's one step away from being like a safe house in an asylum, right?
Uh-huh.
Where you're safe there. You let me out into the real world. There's a lot of things around.
I see things fall out of your hands sometimes. I have no idea. Would you not hold this?
My
Yeah.
mom has gone to me, Cody, aren't you a black belt? You're a ninja. What are you doing breaking everything? I don't know my own strength sometimes. That's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. So when you drop the timer thing, then I could just say, wow, that was so strong.
It was all planned. That was a test, actually. You were supposed to catch that before it hit the
Right.
ground.
Okay, I knew it was my fault somehow. Listen, I wanted to ask you another question since this one is a bit out of the blue, but I don't know how many times I have heard this question, and it's a struggle not to staple my eyeballs into place to prevent them from rolling all the way out of their sockets. But people ask me all the time, oh, so you do karate, you're a black belt. Don't you have to register your hands as weapons? Did you ever get that question?
All the time.
Okay, so that's not just me.
No.
What, is there a nice way to answer that? Because I've been struggling with that one.
I just kind of giggle and I just slough it off. I mean, I've had it many times, right? But you just say, no.
But the feet, though. The
Not
feet
really.
I have
Yeah,
to
yeah, you can
register,
say
right?
that. See, that would be a good one. I'm going to have to use that. No, it's, I mean, when you're professional boxer, you know, I believe that's something. I might be pulling this out of nowhere, but I believe that's something. But I always tell the people, I say, no, we don't have to be registered. However, you know, if a situation comes up, depending on how much you've trained and how much you've learned, yeah, you could be more accountable for your actions.
For sure, yes,
Because you
that
should
is
be
true.
able to, you know, subdue a situation without going over the amount of force that you need, right?
That's right.
And that's why it's dangerous, and that's why, like, you know, I've had meatheads in my friend groups, you know, who are not in martial arts, who are like, oh yeah, you know, you ever get in a bar fight and this and that. And I'm just like, dude, no, I talk myself out of every situation. Just mainly for the reason that, you know, I respect what I know. And it's not to be cocky that I might hurt somebody.
But you might.
You might.
You would,
But
I'm
it's
pretty
something
sure.
where if I were to strike somebody, and let's think about it, right? I strike somebody, they fall back, and
Yep.
they hit their head on something.
And it
That's
has
still
happened
my
to
fault.
people.
It may not
Absolutely.
have been the punch. It might have been
That's right.
something else. Not only that, but like, why fight people in the streets? You know, there's no honor in that. But there's also, for that reason,
There's no rules.
there's no rules,
Right.
and they could be carrying weapons. They could have friends on standby. I've
right.
seen it,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, it's too risky and too stupid. It's a meathead
So you
who's going to
use-
be fighting in the streets.
You would only use, I've never, knock wood, but so far I haven't had to use my karate either, except maybe to stare. I've had to stare down some people that were kind of dangerous, on people on some kind of drug that was a bit scary at 5 a.m. downtown when I was into work. But just staring them down, because I was strategizing how I would take them down, right? And they must have seen something and said, yeah, let's go bother someone else. So in a way I've used it, but without actually striking or blocking anything. But if you really had to use it, yeah, you would be efficient. That's always what I tell people, that we teach self-defense that works, and we hope you never ever have to use it. But if you have your back to the wall, you have to use it to save your life, or protect your child, or protect a vulnerable person. You will win.
Yeah.
That's the training. That's the mentality. And you're right that if you get into that kind of situation, the police shows up because obviously somebody got hurt, right? Then you may be accountable for your actions. And if it's obvious that you use proportional force, no more than was necessary, and you were trying not to hurt someone more than you had to, but you had to do something to save your own life, well, this all goes into the equation, and then it goes back to the usual rules about self-defense. You're not allowed to use force that is disproportionate to the threat, for instance.
Yep.
So there's nothing special about being a karate person, except that you have more tools at your disposal as far as training than a person who doesn't do any martial arts would have. Although I've seen some people, especially parents defending their kids, will sometimes have strength and some kind of technique that they pull out of who knows where.
Yep,
But
the
if
primal instinct, right?
their kid's life is on the line, they will hit very, very hard.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. But there are rules about that, and there's nothing that says because you have a black belt that your hands are somehow special. They're no more special than anybody else's hands, I think.
Let's take it
The
like
feet,
that.
though.
I drop a lot of things.
Anything else you want to add about the various styles and their pluses and minuses?
I guess the only other thing that was popping in my head was the other conversation that I get a lot about the just being in the UFC and stuff, right? Not myself, but like martial arts and what's the best style. And
Right.
when you look at if a karate guy fought a jiu-jitsu guy and it was straight up both ways, who would win?
Right.
And there's always you know what, dude, whoever's best
Right. Who
that
knows?
day and better at their sport. Like it's not going to come down to one style is the end all be all. Then they start to argue about the UFC and how oh well, these guys do better here, these guys do better here, but there's all these different variables in that too, where you can't go in with just one style in the UFC because it's mixed martial arts,
Right.
and so the fact that if you go with just one piece, yeah, you're probably not going to do as well as the other people. It might keep you for so long, but when you match up against the good people, you're not going to be able to hold because they're going to find a hole in your style,
Exactly.
right?
But that's true of all of them, though. Nobody is super duper good at every single discipline, right? Every
Yeah.
fighter has their own weaknesses.
Well, karate guys, we try to stay on our feet.
That's right.
Grappling guys try to go down to the ground,
Right.
And if they found themselves on the other side, they might be a little bit shocked if they didn't know anything, right?
Suddenly they'd be clumsy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about what you look like in your uniform? Is that a good consideration, or am I just being silly?
What do you mean?
Well, some people have white uniforms, other people have black uniforms. Some look cooler than others. I was kidding.
I guess style is an important factor, right?
Right?
Yeah, you gotta
Would my
look.
hair look better against the red gi? I don't know. I have to think about that. But basically, yeah, to find a place you like. Find a place that inspires you. Find instructors that you want to be more like. And,
Yeah, that
and
motivates you to be better.
And you found your place.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it for this week. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. Remember, there are various ways you can help us out with this project. And the most important one, of course, is to listen to it and share it on your social networks. So please feel free to do so even more than once. Thanks for listening.